Nigeria has begun implementing sweeping new tax reforms despite mounting opposition from political parties, civil society, and student groups. The African Democratic Congress, the Labour Party, and the National Association of Nigerian Students warn the measures will deepen poverty and fuel public despair. Former Senate President David Mark described the taxes as renewing hopelessness, while Labour Party leader called them draconian and ill-timed. The government insists the reforms are progressive, targeting the wealthy, and designed to fund infrastructure and growth. But with court challenges, planned student protests, and widespread skepticism, the rollout has already sparked fierce debate. Now, so are these tax reforms a pathway to prosperity or another burden on struggling Nigerians? Well, joining me to discuss this right now is Kingsley Fanwo, is the Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kogi State. He joins from Takite De in Kogi State. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, and I wish New Central and viewers around the world a prosperous 2026.
We also wish you likewise, sir. Happy New Year. Let's get straight into the crux of the conversation. The tax reforms, which of course kicked off today, and Nigerians, of course, are proud to now have been reacting to it from the point of apprehension and also from the point of hope. But let's look at some of the concerns. The concerns particularly raised by politicians, political parties, student groups, civil society groups, that it might deepen the poverty bracket of Nigerians. I mean, for you, do you think that this tax reforms would actually do that, or is this the succor we have been waiting for in that sector?
Thank you very much for having me once again. I would say this is going to be one of the best legacies that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be leaving behind. It is a beautiful law. It is the law that would unlock the potentials of Nigeria. It is the law that will enable the country to be able to rake in the right revenues from taxes and be able to implement development projects. It is the law that has ensured equity, protects the poor, and then be able to galvanize development in the country. It is a very wonderful law. It is one of the biggest and best legacies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is normal to raise those concerns. I want to also commend the Tax Reforms Committee for the enlightenment that they have done across board so that Nigerians will properly understand what is actually happening. You know, when you look at the structure of the new tax reforms of the federal government, you will agree with me that it protects low-income earners, and even the middle-income earners pay so little. So those who pay something that is heavy are those who earn heavy. So it is about protecting the poor, and the poor should celebrate this law and celebrate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for bringing this beautiful law that is protecting the poor and generating huge revenue to be able to spark development across the nation.
All right, now let's look at specific concerns here, part of which is some Nigerians are pretty apprehensive that should they default, the authorities have a right to have direct access into their bank accounts and make deductions. I mean, this is one apprehension, even though there have been quarters trying to dispel this, but this seems to be coming up. So I'm going to put it to you in terms of some of this, will I call it concerns right now. For instance, does this tax reform, does it give the government leeway to have access to my account?
Thank you very much. Law is what it is. A law is a law, and the law is to be implemented. Law is to be obeyed, and the law is to be executed. It is not about whether people should have access to. What we are saying is that you have to pay your taxes. There are no two ways to it. No nation can be great without people paying taxes. It is when you pay taxes that the government will be able to generate the required revenue for development. We want our nation to be what the United States is. We want our nation to be what the United Kingdom is. but we don't want to pay the taxes that their citizens pay. So this is illogical completely. So it is something that we need to address. Our people should understand that it is about their taxes. It is about paying taxes to spark development. It is when you pay taxes that you can hold government. It is a law. And when you have a law should be implemented. If you are owing someone, you are expected to pay. It is clear. This is what we owe our nation for development. It is not that the nation is the one that is eating these taxes. They are still going to use it to build roads, to build hospitals, to build schools that we will attend and our children too will attend. So it is about us. it is about us, the citizens. So the orientation needs to change from this kind of very ridiculous concerns that we are talking about. We need to step up enlightenment, which the federal government is doing. And, you know, a lot of states, including Kogi State, is already keening into this. We have already domesticated our tax law in line with that of the federal government. So that shows that Kogi is 200% in support of what the federal government is doing. We have seen the lights at the end of the tunnel, and we can see that this is going to spark development in the federation, and we are already trying to domesticate it into Kogi State and ensure that we also reap from these benefits.
All right, let's look at the issue of accountability here. One thing you did say is that these taxes are necessary to ensure development and, of course, expand, what I call it, infrastructure when it comes to, you know, being accessible to people. But there's also the issue of accountability. Nigerians pay taxes before now, and many are asking the question as to how these taxes have been used over the years, right? If we look at our debt ratio, for instance, Nigeria owes, you know, as at March 31st, 2025, over 149 trillion naira. And of course, this has continued to go up. And then people are asking, right now you want to increase the tax net, you want to increase the tax profile. How are we sure that this will be used for what it's meant to be used for, and then we won't come back in circles again to say we are borrowing monies to fund infrastructure, to fund payment of government projects, to fund governance and all of that? So accountability here, are there mechanisms in place, maybe at the state level, to ensure that these taxes are used for the benefit of the people?
Yes, one of the highlights of the new tax law by the federal government, the one in Kogi State was signed into law yesterday by the chief servant of Kogi State, His Excellency Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo. And one of the highlights is the issue of transparency. You know, as it stands today, I think we need to deal with the key highlights of the new tax law in our state, which is in line with what we have at the federal level. The first thing is that, you know, people who earn less than or 800,000 and below are not expected to pay what we call payee. And even businesses that generate less than 50 million a year are not expected to pay any VAT. So this is protecting small businesses. It's also protecting the poor. And, you know, apart from that, you talk about the digitalization of the entire tax processes. That brings transparency. And, you know, as it is in Kogi State, this is the first day of January 2026. As it is in Kogi State now, it is criminal to collect taxes in cash. It is criminal. So we already have platforms, digital platforms through which we are going to collect these taxes. That brings transparency, that brings accountability. And, you know, in Kogi State, for instance, we have the governor of the state who is an accountant and also a very celebrated auditor, a forensic auditor for that matter, and also a tax expert. So all of this were put into consideration to ensure that Nigerians, as it affects the federal government, and Kogites, as it affects the people of Kogi State, will be able to understand and know how much is being generated. This is where the question is going to start from. So if we have generated, for instance, X, Y, then you can ask questions about it. That is your tax. That's why if you are in UK or US, you hear the citizens talking about their taxes. It's about the taxpayers' money. So the moment we have what we call the taxpayers' money, then the taxpayers can start asking questions as to the judicious application of this revenue for development. This is where we are going to start it from. Let's start with this reform that is going to promote accountability, transparency, equity, protecting the poor, protecting small businesses. That is how to build a nation.
All right, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll switch the conversation briefly before we wrap up to a trending issue, that affects or that is related to the governor. Something he said, that went viral. Stay with us. We will be right back. You are still watching Politics HQ on News Central Television. I still have the Honorable Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, with me as guest this evening. Honorable Kingsley Fanwo, thank you for your time. Let's, of course, before I let you go, let's get this out of the way. A particular video went viral where the governor actually did say he has a working cabal in his government, which was approved by his predecessor and political godfather, Yahaya Bello. The governor identified the leader of this cabal as Abiba Tijani Aliyu, and he also mentioned other members of his cabal. So, this particular statement has continued to generate reaction as to what exactly he meant by the word cabal, and if he is truly running an inclusive government. In your response to all of this, I would also like to ask, too, are you a member of this cabal?
Thank you very much. I think we will still have to come back to talk about this new tax law. That we talk about the administrative part of it, harmonizing the state existing laws with the national framework, how it is now illegal to collect taxes through roadblock and all of that. We will come to that. Maybe I think we will need to come back to this to highlight how Kogi has been able to beautifully transform that beautiful law at the federal level to what we have at the state level. Going to the cabal issue, It is something that is, the governor has been doing a beautiful job with his team. And then you have various teams. You have what they call the economic team. You have what they call the information team. You have teams working with the governor. The governor is working through, and with all of these teams. But, with time, we are in a political era. People already say, the people that are making things happen economically in the states, they are cabals, Because of that, the governor came out, to say, if you are saying cabal, fantastic. This cabal, the cabal that you are calling them, they are doing beautifully well. So that's what brought that. It is not that the governor has built a cabal. It is a team. It is an economic team.
But would you say, in one word, before we go, would you say that his cabinet is an inclusive cabinet?
Quite inclusive. I would say the immediate past and the present administration of the state are the most inclusive when it talks to, when you want to talk to the issue of giving people the opportunity to showcase what they can do. I am here as the Commissioner for Information. The governor gives me the freedom to determine how we communicate government policies and programs to the public, how we inform the public. So are you going to call me a cabal too? So what the governor was saying simply is that this economic team is advising me in the best of ways to be able to deliver on my mandate to the people. And, you have to give it to the Accountant General of the state, Dr. Abibatu Nomoko. He's doing a beautiful job, financial engineering, and ensure that the state is able to deliver both to the civil servants and to the contractors, to policies, to projects, and all of that. And most of the people that were mentioned there, the governor, if you had given the governor opportunity, would have mentioned more people that are in his economic team. So it is inclusive. When you can't take inclusion away from the Ododo administration. It is about the most inclusive administration in the history of the state, and that is why it is doing beautifully well.
All right, thank you so much for your time on the program, Honorable Kingsley Fanwo. And on the tax issue, hopefully we would have you again come to discuss this as time progresses and as it unfolds. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to let Nigerians know that Kogi is about one of the first states to domesticate this and sign it into law. The last day of last year, the governor signed it into law, and we are going to operationalize it. It has started already on the 1st of January. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you once again.